Hello, I am Ashok Khosla and you are watching The Green Show. Throughout history, the rulers and the ruled, the rich and the poor, the privileged and the common folk have all lived in close touch with the cycles and flows of nature. Life was not always comfortable or easy, but it did provide the basic sustenance needed for the human spirit. Now, within the short space of 100 years, the relationship between people and their land has suddenly broken down. Today's science enables us to control and transform nature to an extent never dreamt of before. This in turn has brought us the potential of a totally new level of material and physical well-being. But it has also started to destroy the life support systems upon which we all depend. Can we have our cake and eat it? Each week, The Green Show brings you information, news, and views on how we can reconcile the needs of people with the limits of nature.
The green lungs of Delhi are choking. With the Supreme Court's directive, will the ridge get a new lease of life or will it be another paradise lost? Then we visit Dibrugarh in Assam and witness a heroic battle. A battle to reclaim the land from the waters of a fearsome river, the Brahmaputra. And finally, how you could help save trees sitting right there in your office. Practical tips on how to save money for your office and trees for the earth.
As the capital of India, Delhi is home to the nation's policymakers. Yet this has not prevented it from becoming the most polluted city in the country. Every day, industries, traffic, and domestic fires spew out growing clouds of noxious fumes all over the metropolis. Worse, the green spaces that are needed to absorb the pollution continue to shrink. Today, we show you the plight of the city's one remaining vital lung, the Delhi Ridge, which is under the threat of encroachment from all sides. The Supreme Court directed government to take action against the encroachers. Does the city government have the resources and political will needed to act?
As dawn breaks over Delhi, hundreds of people living in this polluted city take to the soothing shades of green. The Delhi Ridge, an extension of India's oldest mountain range, the Aravalli, is a lifeline of Delhi. The ridge covers nearly 7,800 hectares of land in Delhi and its neighboring states. Delhi is the only capital city in the world to be blessed with a natural forest. In the capital, its green expanse performs a variety of functions crucial to the life of this polluted and overcrowded metropolis. It serves as a giant air conditioner, provides oxygen, absorbs pollutants, and acts as a sound insulator. It is also home to 123 species of plants, 200 species of resident and migratory birds, and many animals. For the jaded city dweller, these patches of green are a medicinal taste of nature, truly the green lungs of Delhi. But these lungs are choking. Over the last century, the ridge has depleted at an alarming rate. Encroachments have multiplied and illegal felling is common. Today, only 28% of the original forest remains. Nearly 3/4 of the ridge has already been lost.
Today, in 1990, encroachments have reached 70%. So over the last 50 years, we have literally replaced a green jungle with a concrete jungle, and that is going to affect the very environment of Delhi.
The environmental NGOs warn that if the remaining 1/4 of the ridge is not saved, Delhi faces a death sentence. Frequent droughts alternating with floods, change in local climate, rise in temperature, disruption in surface and groundwater flow, high levels of pollution, environmental instability and ecological imbalance. The list of drastic results is long winding. The struggle to save the Delhi Ridge received the proverbial shot in the arm recently, with two important decisions at the highest levels. First came the directive from the Supreme Court, categorically stating that the concerned authorities remove all encroachments from the ridge. Secondly, the President of India set an example by ordering the closure of the President's Estate Polo Club, which was one of the encroachments. The President's Polo Club was not the only offender. There is a long list of VIP encroachments. For example, 3 camps of the CRPF have encroached upon some 1,20,000 square meters of the ridge. This is not a stray example. There are army camps and even a police thana. Why? Well, obviously to maintain law and order in the adjoining area. Private institutions and individuals are not far behind in occupying large areas of the ridge. You will find all amenities available on the ridge. A place to worship, a place to build your muscle, and even a place to dump your garbage. You name it and you've got it. There are petrol pumps, wide roads and mushrooming slums. Then there are schools which provide extra space and facilities to their students at the cost of the ridge and its trees. Encroachments? Who says? Our camera team seems to be the only band of encroachers.
देखिए कोई कटे हुए पेड़ नहीं है।
ये क्या दिख रहे हैं?
मैं कहता हूँ कोई कटे हुए पेड़ नहीं है।
ये क्या दिख रहे हैं? आप तो
अंदर चले जाइए और नारायण साहब को ले जाइए।
अंदर नहीं जा सकते। कटा हुआ पेड़ नहीं है, सामने दिख रहा है।
और मैं कहता हूँ ये फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट जाने, उनका काम जाने, समझे?
नहीं, हम ये पेड़ कटा हुआ नहीं है क्या?
मैं कहता हूँ तो इसमें आप और मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? What can I do?
The attitude is short-sighted. In the longer run, the encroachments are suicidal for everyone. According to international norms, 20% of the city space should be green. In Delhi, however, the vital green cover has shrunk to a meager 0.6%. NGOs and citizen groups have been crying themselves hoarse.
Residents have been agitating since 1986 and have been continuously reminding the authorities regarding the demolition, encroachments.
And what has been the result?
There is no results as so far.
Nothing positive.
Nothing positive has come out.
What then has the government been doing for so long to save the flora and fauna of the Delhi Ridge? Practically very little. Why? Because the government functions typically on many levels. This multiplicity of authority has compounded the problem. The Municipal Corporation, the New Delhi Municipal Council, the Land and Development Office, the Cantonment Board and the Delhi Development Authority all have a share in the pie. Naturally, everybody's responsibility is nobody's concern.
Well, we've had this problem that the ridge has been allocated or has been administered by a whole series of agencies. Even now, for instance, there's no clarity on which is the last agency which is responsible, where does the buck stop? And that's why we've been recommending that the whole thing should be handed over to in the control of one agency, preferably the Forest Department, in association with other agencies and with non-governmental organizations and individuals. Otherwise, it's very difficult to pinpoint responsibility.
Public outcry did bring some results last year. The Love Raj Kumar Committee was constituted, which all agree presented a comprehensive game plan to save the ridge. It also observed that various governments had merely been talking about saving the ridge for the last 80 years, but there was little political will to take action. This observation, ironically, became the very fate of the Love Raj Kumar Committee itself. None of its recommendations have been implemented over the past year.
The process didn't even start for 1 full year because of 2 different governments in Delhi, because of 2 different political parties in Delhi, one in center, one in Delhi state. So because of that, the fight became a power fight. Who has to own the ridge? That still has not been settled, because of which common people suffer. What I want to say, that even politicians will not be able to survive if there's no ridge. So let ridge be.
The ridge was also declared a reserved forest only last year. A separate forest division was set up under a chief conservator of forest in DDA. All those who thought that they had rightfully occupied the ridge were asked to file claims. Only 37 claims. All the rest, by virtue of their silence, acknowledged themselves as encroachers. Yet not a single claim was settled, not a single encroachment removed.
There is no political will at all to save the environment. The ridge has been destroyed, and it has been allowed to be destroyed that way. As the politicians are also involved in this whole thing, and the government machinery they deliberately allowed, they knew everything whatever was happening with the ridge, but they did not take any action.
In such a situation, the Supreme Court's intervention came as a new lease of life to the ridge. Even after the court's decision, the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi and DDA officials had stated publicly that it made neither practical politics nor practical administration to remove all encroachments. But with the President of India himself taking the initiative, these words have to be chewed up. Action is imperative. Some encroachments have already been removed, but there is still a long way to go before the woods can be lovely, dark and deep once again.
Initiatives to protect the environment can come from all kinds of sources. We have seen citizen groups, neighborhood societies, school children and businesses make valuable contributions to improve their surroundings. In the process, they make things better for others too. Sometimes even the government might take the lead in turning around practices that are destructive to our natural resources. This is what appears to be happening in one part of Assam. Let us go to Dibrugarh and see how the administration and people have joined hands in an unusual collaboration to green the Char.
Assam is host to the Brahmaputra. During its course, the Brahmaputra has settled many a city on its banks. One such city is the historical town of Dibrugarh. In 1950, an earthquake struck Dibrugarh. The Brahmaputra responded in anger. It not only swelled but also changed its course. Loss of life and property became an everyday occurrence. Dibrugarh was cursed. In 1988, it witnessed yet another round of heavy floods. But this was the saturation point. Next year, in 1989, the river receded towards its original course. This exposed a vast area of the land, the Chor. Brahmaputra gifted Dibrugarh with an unbelievable 50,000 bighas or 500 hectares of land. The district administration decided to plant trees of rainforest varieties suitable for the sandy soil. Thus began an ambitious project of greening the Chor. Greening the heart of the city would help in many ways. The warm climate of Dibrugarh would be pleasantly cool again. Also, the plants would prevent soil erosion. This would maintain the ecological balance, and, as we all know, a forest near a city is its shield from pollution.
Earlier, the Dibrugarh has a very pleasant climate, but after this Chor area, when it grew up, at that time, the entire day, the sand of the Chor area absorbed the sun rays and radiates it in the night. So last year, the people of Dibrugarh experienced a hot summer. So greening of these Chor areas will help to minimize the temperature level, and it helps the people, it helps the climatic condition of this area.
It will help in reducing temperature also by transpiration and evaporation process. Moreover, it will reduce pollution also by absorbing carbon dioxide gas, carbon monoxide gas.
Reclaiming the land from the river is an uphill task. Here in Dibrugarh, sites have been identified for block plantations. The Social Forestry Department is executing the project. It has already planted over 10,000 saplings in 18 hectares of the Chor. Certain problems are hindering the project. Soon after the land was exposed, encroachments came up. Huts mushroomed by dozens and scores day by day.
As soon as the Chor appears in that particular embankment area, immediately there is a rush of encroachers over there.
Those who are having land and houses here, they also try to grab, because 50,000 bigha of land has emerged because of this. So there are about 700, 800 families settled, and we have decided to remove them in a massive drive which took 2 days for removal.
The removal of illegal encroachments was crucial for the success of the project. The district administration took action and encroaching families were removed. However, 67 families have obtained a stay order from the Guwahati High Court. A legal battle is being waged here, but greening efforts nonetheless are on. The media and the NGOs are supporting the project, and the administration plans to take on the legal battle. It has other plans as well. Plans of turning the area into a botanical garden and developing the Chor as a tourist center. Money is being sanctioned at various levels for this project. But greening is impossible without the cooperation from people, and they are coming forward to help. If this support continues, greening of the Chor might be a big success.
We have associated Nagrik Sanstha, we have associated appeal to the school children's, and then NCC, then the Nehru Yuvak Kendras and all the school and colleges, we have, and leading citizen of the town. We have requested them to come in batches and plant saplings, and we have provided saplings. We have made arrangement for their involvement in future also, so that they feel associated with this project, and they only can save it from further encroachment and maintenance also.
This people's participation can be given a new turn. The encroachers could perhaps become the tools of greening the Chor. It could become a tale of conflict-less greening.
We have advised the Assam Forest Department, while the process of removal of encroachment should continue in some areas, because that cannot stop, because there will be unscrupulous people who will try to encroach upon for the purpose of profit. But where the grassroots level people are encroaching upon because they feel that is their mode of life, we can perhaps convince them and see that the encroachment is not scattered. It is there in a planned manner, and if we sacrifice at least 2% of the growth which has come up, at least we can save 90% of the growth.
The greening efforts at Dibrugarh are exemplary. The banks of Brahmaputra are dotted all along by such chors. Most of them have been encroached upon. The greening of Chor at Dibrugarh could pave the way for other chors. Who knows, it could be a trailblazer.
Green action need not be confined to the outdoors. There are many things we can do in our homes, factories, and workplaces to help save the environment. In fact, each one of us can make a difference, and it doesn't take much sacrifice. Conservation of nature's resources is quite easy if we learn to reduce, recycle, and reuse the articles and things that make up our daily life. This applies to everything: energy, water, or material. Our next segment brings you some tips on how to save paper in your office.
India presently has a forest cover of 19.5%. It is about half of what we had a century ago. A major part of it feeds the paper industry. Approximately 20 trees are cut to make 1 ton of paper. In India, about 15 lakh tons of paper and paper boards are manufactured annually. This means some 30 million trees are cut down for making paper alone. Much of this paper goes to our offices. According to an estimate, an average office of 50 people consumes almost 2 tons of paper annually. In other words, it's office work which eats up nearly 40 trees in a year. All the paper coming into an office doesn't find proper use. Much of it is wasted in many ways. Office meetings are just one example. Dictations, memos, circulars, minutes, filing, records all lead to paper wastage. Just to ensure that no one is left out, too many copies of memos are made and wasted. Simple things to do: cut down on memos, make note paper or pads out of scrap paper, and of course, use both sides of paper. This may cause problems of circulating information. One way could be a better use of notice boards. In place of sending out copies to everyone, notices can be put up at suitable points. Simple things to do: place a bulletin board on every floor or in each department. Use whiteboards or neon message boards which do not require paper, and use a thermocol board and scrap or used paper to pin messages. Office procedures and their paperwork that moves through proper channels outline a general problem of wastage. Let us now look at some specific paper-hungry gadgets which can also be made paper-efficient. Computers can be the source of both saving and wasting paper. Most of the senior level persons at workplaces are still computer illiterate. This results in too many printouts of corrections before the final draft is ready. A lot of paper will be saved if we take less printouts and store as much information as possible on floppies. Simple things to do: save more on floppies, take only necessary and final printouts, take printouts on both sides of the paper, and for inter-office communications, use email as much as possible. While computers can be made to save paper, many gadgets are compulsive eaters of paper. One is the typewriter, which gives many a workplace its distinctive music. It cannot store information or instructions, it can only put them on paper. But even then, you can do a few things about it. Simple things to do: don't discard the paper at first mistake. As far as possible, make corrections. Use both sides of the paper and keep a box for discarded paper which can be used for notes, etc. A typewriter may have its technological limitations, but a fax machine is an equally bad paper user. "I'll fax it to you" has become the most common business language today. Faxing itself is not bad. It uses less energy than other methods of sending documents and eliminates the need for envelopes, labels, and stamps. But it is how you fax that makes a difference. Unfortunately, the standard fax paper is coated with chemicals that are heated to create the printed image, and it is not recyclable. Also, because they fade, they are often photocopied, wasting even more paper. Simple things to do: buy a plain paper fax machine in place of a thermal paper fax. For your regular machine, buy recycled thermal fax paper and use a half-page cover sheet in place of a full page. So if you send 5 faxes a day, in this way you will save the equivalent of 6 rolls of paper in a year. We waste paper not only by sending a bad fax, but if we also make a bad copy. But our fingers really itch at the thought of making copies of everything, from newspaper articles to inter-office memos. We are copyholics, no doubt about it. But there is help for our habit. Simple things to do: try copying on both sides. Keep a collection box next to the copier. Use the discards as scrap or send them for recycle. Use recycled copier paper, and do not forget to switch the copier off when not in use. You can save paper in other ways too. The packaging boxes can be reused. So can the envelopes, either by inverting them or by simply using envelopes that are meant to be used more than once. This envelope, for example, can be mailed 12 times. Paper can also be saved by using stationeries made of recycled paper. And in the process, you can save lots of trees and money. Recycling not only economizes paper, but also prevents wastage of other resources. Recycling saves water by nearly 60%, energy by nearly 40%, checks air pollution up to 74% depending upon the technology used, and cuts water pollution by nearly 35%. Using less paper costs nothing, but it can save trees, money, and waste disposal costs. If all employees reduce paper use by just 5%, we could save about 2 million trees every year. It would also reduce the air and water pollution generated by making new paper. So, save paper and encourage recycling. The next time you're about to crumple or throw a piece of paper, pause. You could help save a tree.
An ounce of prevention, they say, is worth a pound of cure. To be forced to clean up afterwards is far more expensive than to design a clean process in the first place. Thinking ahead and planning wisely are the hallmarks of a smart business. It all boils down to how we choose among different alternatives: technology, location, and scale. Making that extra investment today may well mean much lower risks and larger profits tomorrow. In any case, the watchdogs of society, government and citizen groups, will not permit people to make private gains at public expense. There is a growing demand not only for a more equitable development, but also for a cleaner one. We at The Green Show urge the business community not to lie low and join us in the quest for alternatives which can coexist with nature.